The Bombardier CSeries is a family of narrow-body, twin-engine, medium-range jet airliners currently under development by Canadian manufacturer Bombardier Aerospace. The CSeries models are the 110-seat CS100 and the 135-seat CS300. These were initially named C110 and C130, respectively. In certification documentation, the CSeries family is designated Bombardier BD-500, with suffix -1A10 for the CS100 and -1A11 for the CS300. The CSeries is to compete with the Boeing 737 series and the Airbus A320 family, as well as the Embraer 195 regional jet. Bombardier expects the CSeries to burn 20% less fuel per trip than these competitors. The CS100 took its first flight on September 16, 2013. Bombardier announced in January 2014 that entry into service of the CS100 would be delayed until the second half of 2015. The longer CS300 is to follow 6 months later. Development, background: during the demise of Fokker, Bombardier considered purchasing that company in order to gain access to the Fokker 100-100-seat short-haul aircraft. Citing an irreconcilable clash of corporate cultures, Bombardier's executives and board eventually decided against the purchase and ended discussions in February 1996. The Bombardier BRJX, or Bombardier Regional Jet Expansion, was a project for a larger regional jet than the Canadair regional jet. Instead of two seating, the BRJX was to have a wider fuselage with two 3 and underwing engine pods. It was projected to seat 80 to 120 passengers, abutting the smallest narrow-body jetliners, like the two 3 DC-9 Boeing 717 or the three 3 A318-737-600. The project was shelved by Bombardier in favor of stretching the CRJ700 into the CRJ900. Meanwhile, the 72-seat Embraer E170 came to market, followed by the 110-seat E195. Both models were widely adopted, and Bombardier had no product to compete with them in that capacity range. CSeries: in July 2004, Bombardier announced the development of the CSeries family of airliners to replace the cancelled BRJX project. The CSeries would be larger than the current Canadair regional jets, and capable of carrying 110 to 130 passengers. For the first time, Bombardier would be competing directly with the smallest airliners from Boeing and Airbus. At the time, Bombardier expected the aircraft to be available by 2013. In March 2005, Bombardier's board decided to promote the plane to airlines to gather advance orders. 2 models were announced, the C110 with layouts from 100 to 125 seats, and the C130 with layouts from 120 to 145 seats. The CSeries would feature new, more fuel-efficient engines and a higher percentage of composite materials in its fuselage, a strategy similar to that used on the wide-body Boeing 787 Dreamliner and forthcoming Airbus A320 XWB. The new aircraft would seat passengers in a two 3 arrangement in coach and a two 2 arrangement in business first class, similar to the Boeing 717. With the two 3 arrangement, 80% of the seats would be aisle or window seats, contrary to middle seats. The aircraft would have underwing turbofans. The CSeries cross-section was designed to give enhanced seating comfort for passengers, with features like broader seats and armrests for the middle passenger and larger windows at every seat to give every passenger the physical and psychological advantages of ample natural light. In May 2005, Bombardier secured agreements with the federal government of Canada, the provincial government of Quebec, and the government of the United Kingdom for support and loans for the CSeries project. The Canadian government has committed $350 million in financing. The British government has committed $300 million. The program will cost about $3.5 billion, and Bombardier will share the cost with suppliers and governments. The fuselage was to be built by China Aviation Industry Corporation's affiliate Shenyang Aircraft Corporation. Final assembly of the aircraft was to be at Mirabel Airport, Mirabel, Quebec, outside Montreal. substantial portions of the aircraft were to be constructed at Bombardier facilities in Belfast, Northern Ireland. On January 31, 2006, Bombardier announced it would not go forward with plans to develop the C-Series after it had failed to secure significant orders to that point. It stated that it would keep a small team of roughly 50 employees working on the C-Series marketing plan, and would include other risk-sharing partners in the program. With the C-Series on hold, Bombardier announced on February 18, 2006 that it would begin work on the 100-seat CRJ-1000 regional jet restarting program. On January 31, 2007, Bombardier announced that work on the aircraft will continue. In November 2007, Bombardier announced that the Pratt & Whitney geared turbofan would be the exclusive power plant for the C-Series. On February 22, 2008, Bombardier Aerospace announced that its parent company's board of directors authorized it to offer formal sales proposals of the C-Series family to airline customers. On July 13, 2008, in a press conference on the eve of the opening of the Farnborough Air Show, Bombardier Aerospace announced the launch of the C-Series, with a letter of interest for 60 aircraft from Lufthansa. The final assembly of the aircraft would be done at a new assembly facility to be built beside the existing one where the CRJ-700 and CRJ-900 are assembled in Mirabel, north of Montreal. Ghafari Associates was retained to develop the Montreal manufacturing site to accommodate C-Series production. The C-Series aircraft will use the Rockwell Collins ProLine Fusion Avionics Suite, an integrated cockpit system which incorporates 15-inch displays, with comprehensive navigation, communications, surveillance, engine indication and crew alerting system, and aircraft maintenance systems. The C-Series is designed for the 100 to 149-seat market category. Bombardier estimated this market to be 19,333 aircraft, representing more than $250 billion revenue over the next 20 years. Bombardier expects to be able to capture up to half of this market with the C-Series. In 2009, first flight for the C-Series was expected in 2012. In 2009, Mongolian airliner Aziz Airways was reported to have signed a letter of interest for 7 C-Series aircraft. Qatar Airways had previously been in talks with Bombardier, but broke off talks in 2009 after disagreeing on terms. An unnamed lessor was understood to be in talks for 40 aircraft. On March 11, 2009, Bombardier announced the first firm orders for the C-Series. Lufthansa, who originally had signed a letter of interest for 60 aircraft, firmed up an order for 30. The aircraft are to be operated by Lufthansa subsidiary Swiss European Airlines. Renamed models. In March 2009, Bombardier also announced that the C110 and C130 were being redesignated CS100 and CS300, respectively. The models were offered in normal and extended range versions. Additionally, an extra thrust version of the CS300 was also offered. The E and XT versions were removed in 2012 by Bombardier, providing a standard range equal to the one previously identified as extended range. On March 30, 2009, Bombardier inked the second C-Series order, with airliner lessor Lease Corporation International of Dublin, Ireland ordering 3 CS100s and 17 CS300s, becoming the launch customer of the latter. LCI also holds options for a further 20 aircraft. In January 2010, JP Morgan reported that Bombardier was considering a 150-seat version of the C-Series. Bombardier called the report speculative, noting that the C-Series development program is in the joint definition phase where we will be able to add greater product definition, and that includes the ability to make changes before the final design is frozen. Republic Airways Holdings ordered 40 CS300 aircraft with options for an additional 40 in February 2010. In March 2010, EasyJet stated that the company was having ongoing discussions with Bombardier regarding its C-Series. In December 2009, United Airlines expressed interest in using the CS100 and CS300 for replacing its retiring 737 300 and 737-500 aircraft. But no plans or orders had been made by United Airlines as of December 2011. On June 1, 2011, Brathens Leasing Limited in Sweden announced that it had placed a firm order for 5 CS-100 and 5 CS-300 aircraft with options for 10 more aircraft. With the order, Bombardier had secured a combined 100 firm orders. On June 7, 2011, Bombardier announced that an unnamed airline had placed a firm order for 3 C-Series airliners, with options for 3 more. On June 20, 2011, Bombardier announced it had secured a launch customer for the CS-100 at the Paris Air Show. The undisclosed airline signed a firm order for 10 aircraft with an option for 6 more. On June 21, 2011, Korean Air announced signing a letter of intent to purchase 10 CS-300 plus an additional 10 options and 10 purchasing rights on CS-300. This agreement was converted to a firm order on July 29, 2011. On June 24, 2011, the last day of the 2011 Paris show, Bombardier announced a deal with an undisclosed European carrier to purchase 10 CS-100s. On August 17, 2011, at the MAKS Air Show, Bombardier announced an agreement with Ilyushin Finance for up to 30 C-Series aircraft. Atlashjet announced plans on November 15, 2011 to purchase 10 CS-300 aircraft with options for another 5. In July 2012, Latvia's Air Baltic announced plans to order 20 C-Series jets for delivery starting in 2015, in place of the Airbus A320s which had been previously considered. Air Baltic announced a firm order for 10 CS-300 aircraft plus an option for 10 additional aircraft in December 2012. Recent developments. The C-Series program has several major suppliers, including Shenyang Aircraft, Alenia Aeronautica, Fokker Elmo, C&D Zodiac, Parker Hannifin, Bombardier Aerospace, Goodrich, and Rockwell Collins. The first flight was initially planned for the second half of 2012. In 2010, deliveries of the CS-100 were planned to start in 2013, and CS-300 deliveries were to follow a year later. In March 2012, Bombardier specified the target date for the first flight was December 2012, and reaffirmed that date in June 2012. A news report in June 2012 stated that first CS-100 delivery remained scheduled for the end of 2013. At the Farnborough Air Show in July 2012, Bombardier started discussions with AirAsia about a proposed 160-seat configuration for the CS-300 airliner. In November 2012, this configuration was included in the CS-300 project, although AirAsia rejected this proposal. During a conference call in November 2012, Bombardier Aerospace acknowledged a delay of 6 months, for both first flight and entry into service of the CS-100, due to issues with some unspecified suppliers. This pushed the announced date for initial deliveries to customers into 2014. On February 20, 2013, Bombardier announced that Ilyushin Finance Company converted the letter of intent it signed in August 2011 into a purchase agreement, subject to approval by its shareholders, for 32 CS-300 aircraft. On the same day, Pratt & Whitney announced that its Palais 1500G had been granted certification by Transport Canada. The Palais 1500G powers the C-Series. During its earnings call on February 21, 2013, Bombardier announced that the first completed C-Series aircraft would be presented publicly the following month. An extensive update on the C-Series program was presented on March 7, 2013. The first flight test vehicle was displayed in an almost completed state, along with 3 other FTVs in various states of assembly. The 160-seat extra-capacity version of the CS-300, featuring 2 sets of overwing emergency exits, was also presented. In a press release on March 25, 2013, Bombardier disclosed that the electrical system of the first flight test aircraft was successfully powered up and that tests on the static test airframe proceeded satisfactorily and on schedule. On June 6, 2013, Bombardier announced that Gulf Air ordered 10 CS-100s. In June 2013, due to upgrades of the aircraft's software and final ground testing, Bombardier shifted the timeline for the first flight into July 2013. On July 24, 2013, Bombardier disclosed that, due to a longer-than-expected system integration process, The first flight will take place in the coming weeks. On August 30, 2013, Bombardier received the flight test permit from Transport Canada, granting permission to perform high-speed taxi testing and flight testing. As Bombardier planned, a CS-100 took the maiden flight for the model and the C-Series on September 16, 2013 from Mirabel Airport north of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Over 14,000 data points were gathered on this first flight, and after some reconfigurations and software upgrades, the aircraft flew for the second time on October 1, 2013. In September 2013, Porter Airlines of Toronto, Canada announced a conditional purchase of 12 CS-100s, with options for 18 more. In November 2013, Iraqi Airways signed a letter of intent for 5 CS-300s with options for 11 CS-300s, which was converted into a firm order on December 4, 2013. On January 16, 2014, Bombardier announced that difficulties with certification flight testing had caused the entry into service date to be delayed by at least 12 months, to the second half of 2015. The CS-300 is still to follow approximately 6 months after the CS-100. On March 3, 2014, the third C-Series test aircraft took its first flight. The first two test CS-100s had totaled 100 hours in flight by the end of February. On May 29, 2014, one of 4 test aircraft suffered an uncontained engine failure. The test program was suspended until an investigation of the incident could be completed. The incident kept Bombardier from showcasing the C-Series at the week-long 2014 Farnborough Air Show, one of the most important events for the aerospace and defense industry. On July 12, 2014, Bombardier announced it had signed a deal with Falco Regional Aircraft Limited, a lessor based in Britain, for up to 24 C-Series jets. In August 2014, after slashing its workforce, Bombardier changed the management overseeing the still-grounded aircraft. Design. The Bombardier C-Series aircraft will contain a high usage of composite materials and larger windows. The C-Series cabin will feature large, rotating overhead storage bins, allowing each passenger to stow a sizable carry-on bag overhead. Compared to the cabins of current in-service narrowbody aircraft, the C-Series is to provide airlines with the highest overhead bin volume per passenger and a wider aisle that would allow for faster boarding and disembarkation of passengers. The C-Series aircraft contain 70% advanced materials comprising 46% composite materials and 24% aluminium lithium, which allows for a 15% lower seat mile cost and a significant reduction in maintenance costs. The C-Series aircraft will also permit a significant fuel burn advantage and noise reduction. Computer software design tools were used on the project, including CATIA, Hypersizer, and similar technology that was employed in the Learjet 85 program. Orders and deliveries. The Bombardier C-Series family of aircraft has the following firm orders, as of July 31, 2014, orders and deliveries by year. Specifications. Bombardier released the following performance specifications, regarding operations from urban airports with short runways and steep approaches, like London City Airport and Toronto Island Airport. Notes: data are preliminary and may change. Sources: Bombardier Aerospace and Pratt & Whitney, see also. Related development: Bombardier CRJ-7001000, Comac C919, Irkut MiS-21. Aircraft of comparable role, configuration and era, Airbus A320neo, Boeing 737 MAX, Embraer E-Jets E-2, Kawasaki YPX, Mitsubishi Regional Jet, Sukhoi Superjet 100/130, related lists, list of civil aircraft. References. External links, Bombardier C-Series page, Bombardier C-Series Virtual Cockpit Tour.